So I can officially say that I've gone from 10,000 to 100,000 in the space of January to September. And that's with 3 months off, by the way. So if someone like me can do this, then I think you can do it as well. I think that any human being put in the right conditions have the ability for greatness. The reason why people fail at trading, even though they're exceptionally competent technical analysts, is because they have some psychological flaws that they're not able to surpass, but also because they haven't put their mind to work at solving a problem with technical analysis.
What is good practice? It's like forcing yourself to, you don't feel like journaling, you don't feel like doing something because you had a red day or whatever, but you still got to do it, and you got to do it correctly. You got to do it like the way the pros do.
If you don't have the ability to control your own emotions, and if you're not able to sit in discomfort, and if you're not able to go to those dark places, those dark corners, the crevices of your personality, and weed out those bad mistakes that you make, then you will never make trading your living, your vocation, your primary income.
What's up, guys? This is David, aka Reverse Long, and I have the pleasure to have Tom Hougaard back on the podcast. And Tom and I, right now, we're gonna have a conversation, see where it goes. But ultimately, we're gonna mention what we're gonna cover a little bit, what we're gonna cover at the conference coming up on October 10th. So, for those that are unaware, if you've been under a rock somewhere, we have a massive conference in Los Angeles on Friday, October 10th. And yeah, it's gonna be sold out. So grab your tickets while they're available. So we're just a few weeks away now. So we've been preparing for this big conference in Los Angeles for a while, and it's a pleasure to have Tom in LA. And if you also, I'm gonna link the other podcasts that we did in the show notes or somewhere along this podcast. The one we did, I don't know, it might have been like a month ago. It was an excellent podcast, a longer format one, and it's on Tom's channel as well. So with that, Tom, how's everything going? And yeah, can't wait to have you in LA, man.
And I can't wait to be there. It's truly a pleasure, and I just get to visit America and Los Angeles. The last time I was there with my mom, and she's passed away. But we had this crazy idea. I had been made redundant from my trading job in London, and I asked my mom if she wanted to fly with me to San Francisco because I had this crazy idea that I wanted to rent a cabriolet. Like I think I was very specific. It had to be a Ford Mustang cabriolet and Thelma and Louise style. I wanted to drive from San Francisco down to Los Angeles along the Pacific Coast Highway. And I did. And it was a fantastic journey. But I never really got to see, the deeper of Los Angeles. So, hey, thank you for bringing me there. It's actually the real reason why I'm doing this event is because I get to Los Angeles. I'm joking. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it anyway, but it's just great to be in a as interesting place as Los Angeles. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the Pacific Coast Highway, that is a beautiful drive. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's a beautiful
you know,
drive.
I,
And a Mustang Cabriolet. So I'm not that car aficionado. I know cars enough, but not like that. What's a cabriolet, by the way? It's
oh, do you call it a convertible?
oh, a
Oh,
convertible. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
like,
That's a
like,
European. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
cabriolet convert. There you go.
Okay.
Lifts, elevators, tomatoes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
no,
Okay. Yeah,
that's
it's a
that is
convertible.
what it is. And I guess the irony was that my mom complained, "Oh, the wind in my hair, it messes my hair." So I never really actually had the cabriolet, the
Oh,
the, the
really?
convertible.
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
no.
But
Anyway, people don't want to
yeah,
hear us talk
yeah.
about my my experiences
Yeah,
with my
yeah.
mom's hair.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you had to have that experience. I've driven on Pacific Coast Highway to Malibu, not as far as you did. It's a beautiful drive. But
Yeah.
Tom, you were mentioning to me off the podcast of these new milestones that you've hit, and it's very exciting. Yeah, maybe you want to touch on it?
Okay, yes, sure. So on Wednesdays, I don't participate in sort of social media trading. I trade live on YouTube. twice a day, the European session and the US session. But on Wednesdays is kind of my day for, shall we say, introspection, reflection, and trading for myself. And um, I knew I was quite close, but I started this. Normally, I will start my year, any year, with £100,000, and I'll trade that up. And the reason why I do that is because it enforces discipline to start over with a small amount so you don't get complacent. And today was the day that I hit 900%. And I started with a similar account, but I took away a note. I deposited £10,000 account, £10,000 on a trading account, and that's the one I'm trading live on YouTube. And today it hit that with the money that I had withdrawn, it hit that £100,000 mark. So I can officially say that I've gone from 10,000 to 100,000 in the space of January to September. And that's with 3 months off, by the way. So if someone like me can do this, then I think you can do it as well. But there was a flip side to that because I sat and I audited my trades. And auditing a trade is actually it's tedious and it's actually deeply unpleasant because you come face to face with all your bad traits, cutting good trades too early, maybe not adding enough to the good trades, maybe letting the bad trades run a little bit longer than you should have. And so what I suppose that the human being that I am is when you are a trader and you are a self-employed trader, everything you do is self-motivated, it's self-driven. You don't have anybody sitting in the alleys clapping at you. Everything is internalized. And so I think suppose I would say that outwardly this was a moment uh, of celebration. But me internally, it was a moment of you could have done a lot better. You really could have done a lot better. You could have squeezed it a lot more when you had the opportunity to. And that is interesting because the I'm traveling from my home to Frankfurt, Germany, um, to give a talk on Friday. I'm a keynote speaker at the annual Technical Analysis Association's event. It's a 3-day event where I saw that John Bollinger is a keynote speaker the following day. And the organizers contacted me, David, and said, we're a little concerned about the title of your presentation. And the title of the presentation is that technical analysis is deceitful. And of course, I am a technical analyst because that's the tool that I use. But I argue very firmly that technical analysis by itself is a false god. It's a religion that you can't rely on. And the deceit of technical analysis is that you can know absolutely everything about technical analysis, but that doesn't guarantee that you will make money. And so the deceit of technical analysis is that you need something else, but they never tell you that. They tell you, they being the trading books, the trading mentors, the anybody who makes a living from educating, they teach you their secret strategies, their secret techniques. And the deceit lies in that people flock to these and they devour these videos like religious zealots, believing that that is the answer to their prayers of being able to make money from the financial markets. And and I feel it is my duty as a battle-worn veteran of the financial markets as a day trader to 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 say stop, because that's just not true. If you don't have the ability to control your own emotions, and if you're not able to sit in discomfort, and if you're not able to go to those dark places, those dark corners, the crevices of your personality, and weed out those bad mistakes that you make, then you will never make a dime from trading. You will never make living you will never make trading your living, your vocation, your primary income. And so then doing the audit that I did today, even as I said, it should be a moment of celebration. And someone like me, the way that I am put together, going, yeah, I could have done that better. Yeah, I didn't like that trade. And it was tedious work, but it was necessary work. And so I come out of, it's late here, and I am actually dog tired because I think I'm emotionally tired more than I'm physical tired because it has been demanding to be confronted with your with some of the traits that you kind of hope that you wouldn't display anymore. Um, so yeah, that's just real honest talk, David. Because for me, as a trader, trading is not something that I would recommend to anybody doing because I think to be really, really good at it, you need to have a degree of introspection, a self-honesty that I think most people would steer away from because the mind, as its operating principle, is to steer you away from pain. So why would you confront the very aspects of yourself, your insecurities, your shortcomings, your bad traits, your bad habits? Why would you confront yourself with them? Because that is you coming face to face with your own ghosts, your own fears, and that's painful. And the mind won't allow us to take us to the painful places. So my talk is very much about, hey, let's cut the crap, let's dispense with the bullshit, and then get down to if technical analysis is not it, then what do you need to add to it? Because obviously you need an edge, you need something to derive your buy and sell signals. But if you have knowledge, but you don't have the will to act upon the knowledge, you might as well just be devoid of the knowledge. And I draw a parallel to, say, the slimming industry. And there's no shortage of diets, keto diets, paleo diets, 5-2 diets, Huntington diets, Beats diet, Hollywood diet. I mean, I Dukan diet, Mayo diet, 5-2 diet, fasting, intermittent fasting. I mean, I could carry on. And yet very few people are able to follow a diet. And that is the reason why Eli Lilly, for example, with their Mounjaro jabs are so popular because it takes the pain away of depriving yourself something. Well, when you are trading, you are also depriving yourself something. You become a risk taker and you are, shall we say, you're foregoing short-term pleasure, hopefully for long-term gains. But that requires you sitting in discomfort. And that's just not something people want to do without the necessary training or motivation to sit in it. And that's what I've been doing today, reveling in my bad trade, wondering how could I have done that better. So it is both a celebration for my love for my vocation, but certainly also a draining experience because it never gets easier. Because the operating drive of your mind will always seek the shortcut. It's what I call the energy paradox. The energy paradox as such within human beings is that we will always seek the shortcut. And those of us who is aware of that, who has an awareness of what that does to you, we seek the cold, dark corners because we prefer the antidote, because we know that the antidote leads to much, much greater rewards. So that's what I have been doing today, and that's what I want to talk about in Frankfurt. And actually, also, if you don't mind, love to talk to. Can't see how the Europeans and the Americans could be so different. After all, we're all human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm sure you're going to be touching upon some of that at the conference as well. But Tom, you mentioned such important things right now, so people should listen to that a couple times. A lot of introspection as you speak, so that people can go through as you go through it yourself, as you mention it. So, I want to mention, so you first started off with like putting your accounts back to a certain amount because you trade uh like differently. So like I have the same experience. So I bring my accounts usually every year back to 30,000 and I grow it from there. Um every
Wise.
year. And the thing is because I find myself after doing that self audit that you mentioned, yeah, that you do the self audit, that I'm more precise and uh, I'm like I break less of my rules when I'm at that smaller account. It's like maybe it's an instinct for survival, like you're just hyper aware all of a sudden. This it's like a trick almost. Maybe you
Yeah.
can break it down better than I can. I don't fully understand it, but I know I like as I journal and I go through my trades and I do that audit, I know absolutely that my behaviors are different when I have that lower accounts and that money's that when I wire out money and it's secure in my bank, but my account is small and I behave differently than if the account is big. And it's just it's just maybe it's that fight or flight, maybe it's that hyper awareness or like instinct to like to run through your process, double check your process, and to be alert and aware more. I don't know what are your thoughts on that?
I, wow, we're going deep. We're going heavy really quick. I think that any human being put in the right conditions have the ability for greatness. When you look at, say, take for example, football teams in any league. I'm referencing some of the work that I have studied about the English Premier League. It is incredible how I think I just need to make a quick explainer to there are certain amount of teams in that league, say that there are 20 teams, and every year, obviously number one wins the league, but the last two or three teams they get relegated into a lower league, and then a couple of teams from the lower league then gets promoted into the Premier League.
Hmm.
But what's so interesting is in those final, shall we say, the final months where those lower leagues or the league, sorry, the teams in the lower half of the table of the ranking, who is at threat of being relegated, they can all of a sudden find the impetus to shall we say, let go of all their fears. They're all eminent football players or soccer players that you call it in America, I think. But when you're truly confronted with calamity and the pressure is really on you, you have the ability to rise to much greater uh, level of performance if the right motivating factor is present. And so one of the reasons, and I would say it was the primary reason why I dial my account back, is not that I don't acknowledge that if I started with where I left off, say it was £1 million or $1 million, I could trade much bigger. However, by going back to square one, I take out a salary that I made, but I'm also forced, like any football team, when they start that season, they all have nil points. And then it's from there onwards. Doesn't matter how well you did last year, you are back to square one. And I think for me, well, I don't think I know it. For me, it enforces a discipline, it enforces a rigor to the process. And and I've done this through experimentation, sorry, not experimentation, through noticing how I trade when I have a bigger account. And what I found was I didn't like it, but you have to understand that you have a subconscious mind and you can't control this mind. What you can do is begin to audit, but you can't control its impulses. If I called you, you're a stupid idiot. The impulsive reaction you would have to, well, so are you. And then you might say, well, maybe he's just trying to trick me here. What's the reason behind this? So you have the irrational mind and you have the rational mind. And I believe that if I started off with a very big account, I would be prone to sloppiness and complacency. And I can't afford that, not at any account size. But if I have a small account size, and there's nothing small with $100,000 account size. Let's just call a spade, but it's all relative, isn't it? To me, it enforces. And say I had to bet on a trader, I would rather bet on the trader with a shoestring budget than I would bet on one who had ample of money because I know the one with a shoestring budget, he would be exceptionally disciplined to his process.
That is amazing. So, By the way, okay, so that brought a memory of mine that's it's in my
Yeah.
upcoming book, by the way. So
Yeah.
the
What's your
chap
upcoming book called?
Short Selling Master. Yeah, so
Sure.
it's coming out in May, but there's going to be pre-order links pretty soon. We'll definitely mention it at the conference.
Yeah.
But one of the opening chapters it's called Burning the Boats. So have you ever heard Tom
Mm.
the Conquistadors, the story of the
That is a
Conquist
great title. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean by burning the boats. I think many listeners will know exactly what you mean by that. But hey, I'm stealing your thunder. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's just like when you have your back against the wall, you fight harder. So it's like you're putting as a trader, that's like kind of like a hack right there. You bring your account size lower. If you're a profitable trader, if you're, so you take your accounts down and then now you're starting like that soccer team that you're mentioning, or football team
Yeah.
that's starting fresh from zero and fighting. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. Now you're at zero. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a trick. But the burning the boats has been it's always been something that, like, when I was aware of it, okay, that's what I got to do. There's no plan B. Well, that was for something else. That was for me starting trading. But in this case, the burning the boats would be, it's just like the strategy of war where you put your back against the wall and like you're forced to fight harder. Like there's no turning back. So it's like when you put yourself in that burning the boat scenario, it's like the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same. You're going for the same kind. It's the same concept in a way. It's by taking your accounts lower, it's like you don't want to see your account blow up. You don't want to see, so you're more prone to follow your rules. You're more prone to be on top of your behaviors and be hyper aware. So just the same way, like with burning the boats, if you're like the conquistadors burned their boats on the shore of Mexico because now they got to fight the Aztecs, and the Aztecs are cannibals and they're gonna eat them, and there's no turning back. They can't go to Spain. They can't mess up. They have the tools to do what they need to do. And this is not a political thing, by the way. I know there's like people out there about the politics of the indigenous and all that. But this is just a lesson of the human nature of, like, when you have no chance to turn back, when you burn the boats and now you have the tools that you can use at your disposal to do the job. Now you're not going to mess up. You're prone not to mess up, or you get wiped out. So that, in a way, like, drawing the accounts lower, is a trick to kind of perform better, I think.
I am writing a book myself, as you know, and I may steal that chapter.
Yeah, yeah, you're
It's a,
welcome to. It's a great.
but I will give you due credit, of course. But it is even just the title of it just says so much about what's coming. Um, Excellent.
Yeah. You're speaking at the technical analysis conference there in Frankfurt, I think, in Germany. And so you're well versed with these events. Yeah, you've done many of them. So from your experience, like how does it go as far as sharing your knowledge? Like, you just never run out of things to say. It's with trading, you can just, I know I find that for myself. I can write a book, I can do conferences, I can just go on hours and podcasts. It just never ends. It's just ever flowing information.
That's a good question. I don't get out a lot, and being invited, and especially being invited as a keynote speaker, is an honor. I don't actually know what it means to be a keynote speaker because there's many other great speakers there. And as I said, I think the organizers were somewhat concerned about my title, but I feel very strongly about my message. And I feel very strongly to you about my message that I didn't get to where I am on technical analysis alone. Kind of reminds me of a story. Perhaps it's a good story to round this little talk together. Um, Many years ago, Anders Ericsson, he's a Swedish. He sadly passed away. I just learned. Anders Ericsson, he was a professor. I think it was an American university, and he studied excellence and he studied the pursuit of excellence. And then a Canadian journalist um, wrote a book called Outlier. It was written by Malcolm Gladwell. And in this book, Malcolm Gladwell, with the greatest of respect to both Malcolm Gladwell, but also to hold the integrity of the work that Anders Ericsson and his colleagues have produced, Malcolm Gladwell, and I have to say it how I feel it, he bastardized the message. And the message was that if you do something for 10,000 hours, you can call yourself an expert. And I think that best-selling book, The Outlier, seduced uh, a public wanting to improve, but perhaps didn't want to work at it. And they almost grabbed their calculator and said, well, if I can work at something for 4 hours a day, by 2027, I'll be an expert because I'll have done 10,000 hours. But there was something about the message that didn't resonate very well with me for several reasons. One, I uh, it was at a birthday party, and someone gave me an opportunity to sit with a professional race driver in a what's called a touring car, which is basically it's not a Formula One car, but it's basically a car that you'll see on the road, but it is so souped up, and they use it for for touring races. And I would drive, and I think by then I had held my driver's license for at least 30 years, and I I probably would driven about 400 hours a year. So by that mathematics, I would have driven 12,000 hours. So I should technically be an expert in driving. But as I sat in that car and he taught me how to, you ever see the movie Pretty Woman, where Julia Roberts drive the car and Richard Gere is the passenger, and he says, "How does this one? It turns corners like it's on rails." Driving around a corner at speed is tremendously frightening if you've never really done anything like that before. And I realized when I came away from that driving experience on a racetrack that just because you've done something a long time does not make you better at it. And it made me coin a phrase, and I'm sure others have coined it as well, but practice don't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Do you have a coach in America called Vince Lombardi?
Of course, yeah, the
Yeah,
famous
yeah.
NFL
I
football
think,
coach, yeah.
yeah, and I think he said, uh, "A perfect training makes perfect practice, or
Perfect
perfect practice."
practice makes something like that. Perfect
Yes,
practice.
I'm sorry, sorry, listeners, viewers, but it led me into a pathway of, well, I have devoured hundreds of books on technical analysis, and this is when I started trading for myself after I was made redundant. That's the story I want to tell your audience in Los Angeles, but also the audience in Frankfurt on Friday, is that I knew everything there was to know about technical analysis, yet I didn't make any money. So something was clearly not working. And then it led me down that path of studying not excellence as a theoretical concept, but excellence within myself, driving myself forward, because it was either that or I go back to normal employment. And I didn't want that. I wanted to trade for myself because I wanted to keep the money that I made for myself trading, except I wasn't making anything. I wasn't losing either, but I wasn't making anything in spite of the 10 years I had been sat on a trading floor. And then that's when it really occurred to me that the reason why people fail at trading, even though they're exceptionally competent technical analysts, is because A, they have some psychological flaws that they're not able to surpass, but also because they haven't put their mind to work at solving a problem with technical analysis. So if you, sorry, I'm never far away from a chart in this office. So grab if you just grab chart and you just look at it, your eyes are going to highlight the very information that you're seeking, which is pain avoidance. However, what it then occurred to me was I need to study technical analysis very differently. And as Anders Ericsson was saying, is that no, you're not a violin master just because you have played the same tune for 10,000 hours. No, you need to set yourself tasks and your mind needs to solve that task. And then once that task has been solved, you can move on to the next step. And that's how expert performance is built slowly. And so if you were going to have a technical analysis equivalent, it would be something akin of the stuff that I have done as well. What do I do if the first bar is a negative bar? How do I deal with that? Well, that means that you go back over the last 5 years, which could be 12, 1300 intraday charts, and you look at every single example of when the first bar is negative. And you see, well, how would I have been able to react to that? And can I formulate a plan? What then happening here, David, is that your brain has been set a task and you solve that task. So if you're sort of just aimlessly drawing a few lines on a chart, you don't solve anything. You're just appeasing the mind that is an energy saving mind going, oh, and a pain avoiding mind. Oh, yeah, there was a trend line there. But if you say to yourself, what are the chances that the seventh 10-minute bar of the trading day on a Wednesday results in a trend acceleration or a trend reversal? That's a really specific question that need answering. And yes, it's time consuming as hell, but hey, you're an independent. You're self-propelled. And if you don't want that life, then don't come here because we're going to tear you apart. We will literally take your money because we show up better prepared with better answers to questions. And I call that particular branch of technical analysis situational analysis. So I would still say I'm a situation apprentice, even though I'm the one who's probably invented it, because I keep learning and I keep adding to my repertoire. But what's also unique about this approach is that I can't focus for 13 trading hours a day. The human mind can probably stay really focused for 20 odd minutes and then it needs a break. So what are you going to do? Wait for 2, 3 hours before that oscillator setup comes or that moving average crossover setup? So no, because it's highly unlikely that you will stay focused that long. And so what I have developed or evolved into is something that is specific to me and my particular ability to concentrate. And that means I can probably just really concentrate for 2 hours and I need a break. But yet, having just traded for 2 times 90 minutes over the last 6 months, because I had 3 months holiday this year, I still managed to clock up 900%. And that's a testament to having the right mindset and the right setups. And I'm happy to teach your audience in Los Angeles the very nature and the specifics of the setups. That's absolutely, if you give me 2 hours, I'll talk for 2 hours. But perhaps more importantly, I'd like to just teach your friends in Los Angeles how to think properly and how to set very targeted, specific exercises to enhance your understanding of the financial markets and the charts, as opposed to just flipping through a big book on technical analysis, probably written by journalists anyway, that has no real edge to it.
Yeah.
Jesus, David, you shouldn't let me talk this much. I'm sorry, man.
No, it's great, man. Everybody loves to hear you talk, man. So
Mhm.
I'm just learning from you, learning from the master himself. So yeah, great stuff. I had some thoughts and we can just go down the rabbit hole forever. I was like, man, this reminds me of like chess when I used to play
No,
chess
come
and
on.
take
I want to hear it.
oh
Look, you
yeah.
can always, yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Um, Also because Anders Ericsson did study chess masters. And with chess, what's really interesting about the way that grandmasters in particular train is that, like us, David, their pattern they're pattern recognition experts. Because, when you think about all the possible permutations that could be on a chessboard, it's like you can't memorize them all, but you can memorize pattern. And look, uh, my living is literally done on memorizing patterns combined with statistics. So if you have a chess story, it's a bit like telling me I got a great story for you, but you gotta wait until
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah,
No, I
no,
can't do that. You gotta tell me now.
so okay, so with chess, I don't know if you've seen a while ago, not that long ago. I saw a video of Magnus Carlsen, the number one chess player in the world,
The
play,
Norwegian.
the Norwegian. Yeah, he's playing. I don't know. It must have been like 20 or 30 people all at once, blindfolded, and he beat them all. So with chess, there's a thing called chess notation. I used to play a lot of chess, and chess notation, like people review the players, the good players review the games without the board in front of them. So they're playing chess without they're practicing without the board in front of them. So like, each quadrant is labeled a number and a letter. The one goes horizontal, one goes vertical, like A1, A2, C1, C2, B2. So like the master player would be like, okay, pawn to E2, and then the opponent, then he visualizes the opponent. So all of it's done with like stressing the brain out to the maximum to figure out that problem. And then you're constantly practicing this in like mentally. So with trading, like for example, um, I've thought about it myself. The way I learned trading, the way I took my trading to the next level was when I started a podcast in 2021, and I would reach out to authors and traders of books and just well-known traders I wanted to ask questions. And with the podcast, the charts, I didn't even know how to share the screen. So I was forced to just have a conversation about it, playing kind of like this chess uh like notation style chess note, they call it chess notation, like 3D chess without the playing chess without the chessboard. So doing like figuring out like talking about the stocks or talking about the trades without the chart, but like visualizing the chart and the way the chart, the exact pattern that you're talking about, like being very descriptive about it forces your brain. Then also like journaling your trade like that way as well. So it's like without the charts and just thinking about it as you're walking or in the shower or something, like you're just constantly thinking about it. And then like your brain is forced. Now the thing is like, I know some traders that struggle. They have like these execution charts, and they're fed like these like they're seeing execution charts on social media, and they're projecting what they want to see on that chart. They don't know the size of the person of each triangle of the execution. They don't know what the size is. They're projecting the size that they think they saw. That size could have been one share, could have been a million shares, but they're projecting, oh, like what they want to see instead of like having that 3D visualization in their head of like the possibilities and exercising it like a grandmaster does in chess. So I don't know. It's just like I think like getting your brain to actually think and work for the results is or like to figure out the problem. I think is always the way, instead of just being given the problem and being the given like an easy like here you go, like the people drawing the lines in the charts. It's not good practice. I think it goes down to like practicing the violin, like you said, just playing the violin for 10,000 hours, drawing lines for 10,000 hours, seeing, it's like it's not good practice. What is good practice? It's like forcing yourself to, to you don't feel like journaling, you don't feel like doing something because you had a red day or whatever, and but you still got to do it, and you got to do it correctly. You got to do it like the way the pros do.
I can almost imagine people asking me, so how do you decide what you want to research? And the answer is curiosity. I will sit and I will experience something in the market. And I go, I don't know how to deal with this situation. So I then take a pen and paper and going, how do I deal with a situation where the market makes a new high and then it closes at the low at something like that. And out of that curiosity comes research projects. It's my mind, my curiosity produces the wish list, and then you go to work and you answer those. And of course, it's all driven towards getting executable trades that you can trade with high confidence. But one of the greatest things that anybody ever said to me in trading was a gentleman from Canada called Ali Moyne. He's sort of Al Brooks's colleague or right-hand man or wingman or whatever you call. And it was in the event last year in Orlando, this price action event, which I'm also actually attending in America. And he said, it's not a bad idea, no matter how certain you are about a trade setup and whether you want to be a buyer or sell short, to consider the other side, because on the other side of your very convincing argument is another trader who is equally confident that the market is going to go in his direction. And so I am personally extremely mindful of that argument whenever I investigate setups. It is, well, somebody is absolutely determined that if I buy off him, he's short and he thinks this market is going to go down. And what that has done for me, I personally feel, is it has cultivated a um, a behavioral heuristic in my mind that I I call behavior modification. It enables me to be long the market, see something, experience something, and without any emotional qualms, close the long position and go in the short side. And I think that is one of the greatest gifts a trader can have is the ability to have a conviction and then be swayed in another direction for valid and obvious reasons, um, and then change direction. Not many people are able to change their minds very easy, and that's something that I think needs to be cherished. But in our industry, it is something of vital importance. And I think the way that I do research, it nurtures that quality because I'm always forced on, right, I have got 140 examples of this happening. 70 of them says that I need to go long, and then I got another 50 that says I should go short. How do I how do I balance this out? Usually it's actually not like that. If you want a more real life example, so I've been investigating. It doesn't really matter. I'll bore you with it in Los Angeles. But it, what I discovered was that uh, on this particular setup, I should always buy. But if the market moved 10 or more points, I think it was 12 points in to be specific. If it moved 12 points against me, I should what I call flip the switch and go short. And I actually did it today in the FTSE index. I bought the FTSE index after the first negative bar on the 5 minute, and I immediately sensed that I was wrong. And I took my loss with 12 points and I flipped the switch and I managed to not only make the 12 points back, but I think I made another 5 or 6 points. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're betting $500 per point move, well, then, you lost $6,000. You make $6,000 back plus an additional $2,500. And making what you lost back through the right kind of protocol is actually tremendously rewarding. It's great to win, but having been behind and then come back to break even and back into the light is, for some mysterious reason, is terribly satisfying. It must be a quirk in our minds that likes to go back to equilibrium. And it's something that I'm extremely mindful of when I'm trading is not to chase the market when I am down on the day, because the mind has as its operating principle to protect us against pain. And the way that we get out of pain when we're losing is to get back to break even. And I know my mind wants to do that. And so I need to keep it on a very short leash. And that takes knowledge about yourself. That's not technical analysis knowledge, that's self-knowledge. And that's why I argue that technical analysis is deceitful in a sense, because we should promote the generation of traders that are coming up now to study themselves as much as they study the charts.
Well said, Tom. Well said. Wow. So incredible. Um,
Oh, thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. So yeah, so okay, so we have October 10th
Yeah,
and yeah, those that don't have tickets, go get them. friendlybearconference.com and yeah, come see Tom and I in the flesh. Tom especially, is is
thank you.
the
It's
best in
very
the
kind
game
of you.
at the trading psychology. Oh my God. It's good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Gets you to
It's very
really
kind of you to
reflect.
say.
Yeah, so um
Hey,
great.
before we leave, can I tell you something?
Sure.
Um, Nobody really asks me what drives me. No one really asks, why are you doing this? I have made a lot of money trading and I don't need to do it, but I want to do it. Just like a footballer wants to keep showing up, like the Ronaldo of the world. He keeps pushing the boundaries of what he's capable of. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about my life philosophy because I think it could just elucidate some people as to my motivation. I have a very hard time believing that when we die, that's it. And it drives much of how I think and feel. I think that we are energetic creatures, and when we die, our physical body dies, but the energy persists and will travel somewhere else. Some will call it reincarnation, some might call it by a different name. But I have this belief that I can take the lessons that I learn with me, but all the abundance that I acquire, the physical goods, I leave them by the door. And that creates a very pragmatic relationship with money. And it nurtures an attitude of I like to receive lessons and I want to learn more. So part and parcel of coming to Los Angeles isn't just because I want to take a tour bus around Hollywood Hills and see where the rich and famous celebrities they live. It's actually also because, and perhaps more importantly, to meet like-minded people like you and your fellow Americans who will be attending the conference, because I think we can learn a lot from each other. Yes, I might be standing on a stage. Yes, you might be standing on a stage. But down on a one-to-one basis, when people ask you questions, that's where the real magic happens. They ask you questions that perhaps you don't quite know the answer to. And that's a wonderful opportunity to have that, to be asked as a so-called expert, but actually, you're not really an expert in your own mind. You're just another learning being. And so, without sound like a soppy, mushy bastard, I'm actually really grateful for you organizing this event because ultimately, anything that we get out of life is what we put into it. And I am not driven by money. I will hold my hand up. I was driven by money. I was driven by the desire of financial freedom. But when I received that, it left me rather dull and void and empty because once you have the money, then what's next? And the reality it was that I always enjoyed the learning in the process and the pushing myself into the uncertainty and living in the discomfort zone. And I didn't have to do an audit today, but I wanted to do an audit today because I also know that then come tomorrow morning when I start trading again, I do so with a pure heart and a real interest in my vocation. And if you have that in your life and you have that as your life philosophy, you'll never really be devoid of new learning experiences and new challenges. And I wanted you to know that because I think that's also equally important when you are trading that you do it for the right reason. Because if you do it for the wrong reason and you think it's just all about the money and you think that you can acquire the right mindset, you can't. You actually have to believe in it. You actually have to live it every minute of the day. And I want to finish off with this. I firmly believe that how you act in the trading arena is how you act outside of the trading arena. You can't be an example of discipline inside the trading arena and then be a sloppy mess outside. And so everything in my life is fairly regimented. And it doesn't mean that I don't know how to have fun, because of course I do. But I just find that how I have made a success for my trading inside the trading arena is because of how I also am outside of the trading arena.
Beautiful. And I'm with you there all I'm with you all the way with that, man. I'm with you all the way with that. It's just like discipline inside and outside. Man, it's just yeah. So and the fulfillment from these events, I'm with you there all the way. So like, man, writing a book for me, doing the events, doing podcasts, these things that outside of trading, it's just highly fulfilling because once you reach that freedom, now it's like you decide what financially, then you decide what to do with that freedom. And like I choose to do these things with my time. I'm sure you do as well, and because it's highly fulfilling and it's like we're all here in a limited time, we don't live forever. And it's like what
Not in this
you
body, at least.
not in this body. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, you can't take the material things with you. You can't take
No.
your. I know we spoke about the Lamborghini last time. You get people that have Lamborghini. You can't take the Lamborghini with you, or I know you don't fit in them, but
No.
yeah,
Too long legs,
yeah.
man. Too tall.
But yeah, no, it's I can't wait for the event and
Me too.
the people there and who you connect with and the Q&As are always fun and interacting and making a difference to people and that they can take away for themselves and have something that helps them improve whatever journey they're on. So, yeah, absolutely, Tom. Well, thanks for coming on and yeah, we'll catch up soon and uh you'll be in Los Angeles in no time, less than 3 weeks away.
I
So,
know. It's coming up. Thank you
yeah.
so much. And thanks for the opportunity for this talk. It was great to talk with you today.
Absolutely. You likewise, Tom. I'll see you later.
You
Bye.
take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye, David.